watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. You know me, I like to say what no one else seems to be able to say as I say it. This title, chosen deliberately, reminds me of my final year dissertation in university when I wrote about the impending demographic time bomb in the UK. At the time, the increasing aged population in the UK was becoming a present threat to the economy, social structure, and system. On the flip side, in Nigeria, ours is not so much a matter of demographic, but an uncontainable pendulum of an escalating population that shows no sign of abating. The norm in these parts of the world is to have multiple children. The reasons vary. Some see their kids as a retirement package, a sign of wealth, and even patriarchal virility. But most just lack basic self-control and a pragmatic disconnect to the societal effects and costs of an uncontrolled population growth. At the time I write this, according to the World Population Meter, the current population of Nigeria is 200,140,852. That was on Tuesday, May the 7th. This is based on the latest United Nations estimates, with an average age of a Nigerian being 17.9 years. While others celebrate multiple bundles of joy, far be it from me to resent anyone from exercising what is effectively their basic human right to procreate. However, it doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't stop me from flinching when I hear someone has more than 2 children, maximum 3 children. Sorry, it's just alien to my sense and sensibility, and I don't get it. Are people not aware that there are too many children in the world as it is, let alone in Nigeria, a country with water and power issues, decaying education, housing deficit, a diseased healthcare system, not to talk of the myriad of economic handicaps, high unemployment, low GDP, currency devaluation, double-digit inflation, low wages plus a shrinking food basket? Where are these children going to live, eat, learn, earn, and more pertinently, do we no longer care about quality of life? Involuntarily, my head ends up shaking with bewilderment and total despair. So what's the good news? Well, the World Bank ranks Nigeria 152 out of 158 on Human Capital Index. That basically means we have a lot of people. So ideally speaking, our huge population, especially one dominated by youth, should be to our benefit. But with government's inability to tackle and resolve all the aforementioned afflictions, combined with the people's inertia for accountability, I put it to you that our population expansion isn't just a curse, but also an albatross in our quest for economic development.
Okay, let me land this one. I've been waiting for this time bomb.
I know.
Okay, so first thing though, because I want to take issue with the fact that you said you believe that the major reason people have large families is lack of self-control.
No, different. I gave it.
I know, but you said
I gave a myriad. Some.
But you said
some.
No, but you said.
No, I said while some is the majority, the lack of self-control.
Majority. That's
yes.
the word I was looking for. So, how do you get that majority figure?
Do you want me to answer it?
Yes.
How many children does your driver have?
Yeah, it must.
I don't know.
It's exactly.
I don't have a driver.
No, the masses have more children.
Yeah.
But what makes you think it's lack of self-control?
Because most of them don't actually use birth control.
I believe it.
No. Trust me, I've had this conversation over and over and over and over again. And you can go on.
There may be no official statistics, but it is.
They don't want to use birth control. And they do believe that children are their retirement package. They're a blessing. Right. The multiple, the better. Your driver will have 7 children, whereas yours truly only has 1. And I had a chef who worked for me, honestly. And his wife kept giving birth. I'm like, what are you doing?
No, that's not self-control. What you're saying is they're making a choice to
no,
have
it isn't.
rather than use birth.
No,
they don't use birth control.
Every time he touches her, she has sex.
Yeah, they have babies.
She has sex.
Yeah, they have babies.
What I'm saying is that it's not the self-control has to do with not having intercourse at all. So unless the people who are, the self-control is saying they're not resisting having intercourse.
Well, I mean,
it's a choice, so it's not self-control.
It's not a choice.
It's driven by, they're choosing not to use
choice is family planning.
And that's
Let me tell you what choice
related.
is.
Don't you see what I'm saying?
Sorry.
Self-control is saying, I abstain from having intercourse. That's what it sounds like.
You can even control
you
without
can play as much as you want.
And you can,
but they're choosing not to use birth control.
They're not being careful.
No, they're being ignorant.
And they're not being careful.
At the right time.
Exactly.
They're not being careful.
You can't even feed the 4 that you got.
Lack of
Yes, you're having 2
self-control.
more.
That lack of self-control sounds a bit, Is it derogatory?
No,
That's the way it sounds.
no,
Like you're looking
No,
down
but
on
it's
the
factual,
people.
though,
It's
and
factual.
if we don't admit it.
I don't have any problem with lack of self-control.
That's my fundamental
in fact,
issue
it's
with
a
that.
human problem. It's
Yeah.
not
Yes,
even just
it's not,
a problem
masses,
for the
yeah.
masses
Yeah.
or for the uneducated or whatever. We all struggle with lack of self-control.
No, but
you
that's
know.
not what she's relating. What she's relating is a decision not to use birth control, rather than the fact
No,
that
it's
somebody...
an ignorance.
no.
It's an
Ignorance is not the same as
It's
lack
not
of
a-
self-control. Am I
It is a
missing
lack of
something?
self-control because when I say, sorry, go ahead, Chika.
Yeah,
Go
there are
ahead.
many people.
The word is the wrong word.
You can
I'm almost sure
do
of that.
things. No, it's
let's-
correct. You can do things carefully. You may not use any birth control. Birth control can go down as far as when you do it, how you do it, and all that.
Yes.
They are not controlling themselves.
They're just doing it.
They're
They're just doing it.
Almost irresponsible.
I don't agree.
Even
I
though
don't agree
the
with
Boris
this.
isn't here,
I don't agree with
he
this.
gave his 2 cents, which
Yes, he
was
did.
that, look, you know, the situation in the country is so dire that, you know, the only enjoyment
Yes.
the masses
No, but
Past
he's speaking
time.
for himself. He's
Past
clearly not
time.
having babies everywhere. So
No,
he can't be the person that hasn't got
he's
self-control.
No, he was
he's speaking
saying
for the masses.
He can control, that's
That
why.
is really all that's what they
pastime.
enjoy. That's
Again, I have
the
to
way of...
I can't agree with this simply because I feel it's looking down on a group of people because you say, oh, these people are too ignorant, they're too poor, so they're not controlled. Almost like, for me, it sounds like you're referring to them as
Actually, I didn't
animalistic.
But maybe
it is
Let's
true.
let the language
I mean,
there that I
I would
take
even like
issue
to
with.
tackle. I like what
Yeah,
you said.
I'm taking issue with the
tackle it.
language.
Yes.
So let me tackle it. No, I mean that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's tackle it. So should we look at, first of all, I have a problem. Whether you're middle class, elite class, left, right,
Good. Let's
underground
broaden
class.
it.
You have a
No,
class,
no.
yeah.
I didn't mention
I
any
think
class
that's
in
what
there.
you
But that's where we seem to be going
You
now.
went there.
No,
You went
No, I
there.
didn't go there. I'm
I didn't
asking-
mention
no, I
any
never
class
went
in there.
anywhere.
I said some people have it out of lack
So
of
I'm
control.
asking that lack
I
of
didn't-
self-control is an inappropriate word because it looks down on people
No,
who have made a choice.
No, but it's
No,
true.
it
It's
isn't.
true.
And
Even-
let me
even
just
for
go.
all classes.
And then you
for me,
specified
so when I'm
ignorance
talking
as
about
well.
people having too many children, like I
Ignorance is
said,
across
2,
the board.
maximum 3. In fact, my thing is, I think, you know, God created boy, girl. 2. If you have 2 girls, love it. If you have 2 boys, love it. If you have one or the
One
other,
on each.
you're lucky. End of. I don't understand why people want 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But if you have 3, fair enough.
Well, what if someone says they don't understand why you stop at 2?
Allow me to finish. And I'll tell you what I'll say to them.
Good.
Like I said in my script, where are they going to live? Where is the money? No, don't laugh. You take it for granted. We can't even afford to educate the children that we have now.
When you finish, I'll come
don't
back
take
on
it
that.
for granted.
When you finish.
Just because the average middle class person can afford to send their
keep
child
his 4 children,
to a private school doesn't mean it's okay, because your children are still contributing. They are still part of the burdens on this society. This society cannot afford. In fact, we've gotten to a point in Nigeria where we actually need to go to what China did and say everybody needs to go to one child only. And once we get to that point, then we can start again, because we have too many children. We can't feed the children. The amount of children that are washing our cars on the road. A child came in here today. You know how I felt about it. A child came in here today that should have been in school. That should have been in school. Is not in school. Is a house girl.
Can I come
came
back
visiting.
on this?
So you can't say people shouldn't think that because you can have a baby, go ahead and have a baby.
No, there has to be another side to this argument. That's really what I'm saying. If you look at the world globally, China is the only country that has opted to do this thing you're referring to. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Is it that the whole of the world is
China was able to do it because of communism? No,
because there must be something odd about that decision. But let me finish.
Yes.
I need to land this point. And the other point is, because I think there's a certain arrogance to thinking that your perception of what is right, and that the other person hasn't thought through their own situation.
It's not a perception, it's a fact.
Because you go and say, oh, God made 1 and 2, and if you don't have 1 and 2,
we're growing at the rate of 3%. It's not about me.
Let me finish.
You're making it. No,
allow me to finish.
I can't.
Well, I'll wait for you to finish then, because I must make the point.
And I'm talking to you on a fact.
When you're done, I'll make my point.
The fact is, Nigeria is growing at the rate of 3% every year. 3% that we can't afford. We had inflation going up. We have a lower GDP rate. We have a shrinking food basket. So how can you say it's based on my opinion?
When you made your
based on facts.
Let me come back.
It's not a personal opinion.
Let me come back, because I will have my say, even if I have to wait till you repeat it. The point I'm making is that if you listen to a lot of people, and you actually made that point towards the end, the population is actually not the problem. The population is a management of resources. And we have made this point time and time again on The Advocate. So Nigeria is a very well-endowed country. So we're not lacking in resource. And our human resource is our strongest resource. And most people would agree to that. And if you look at countries like Israel or Dubai, they, out of a desert, how were they able to do that? They tapped into their human resource. You can't solve a problem by dealing with a non-problem. Population is never going to be a curse. A bit like your pride and patriotism. Population only becomes a curse when you choose not to invest in population. Human resource will always be the most prime resource the world over. That's why many countries, no matter how great, will never opt for the China thing. So you can't turn around and blame. You can't turn around and blame people for a problem that arose with mismanagement.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually a bit wicked to then blame people for making a choice.
200 million.
They want to have a big family. It's an option they can choose to have.
Somehow too much.
No, who says?
No,
but I was telling you, the only
Nigeria
problem,
could invest in those people and become a world power.
With this whole, having how many children thing, the only problem I have is don't have children if you know you can't afford to take care of them. I'm not going to go as far as IRETI, but I just feel like for instance, we had a cook who had 11 children. 11 children.
But that's a total lack of control.
No, how is it his right?
How is it his right?
As a human being.
How is it his right?
Take care of
just
your
because you can have children doesn't mean you
bring
should
them out.
give them out like rabbits.
And which he did, it was on everybody, yeah.
And I honestly, I wished we had more time on this subtopic because I have response for you and we don't have the time. But I do think that the onus is on us as members of the society to ensure that we do manage how much we procreate. If we don't, then we might also just blow up the place and implode. Everybody keep having 20 children.
Nigeria has a high mortality rate, so whether you like it or not, it's
my
being
one
managed.
child will be suffering as a
Nigeria has a high mortality
my
rate
one
as it
child
is.
will be suffering as a result of somebody having 6 children.
We don't know.
No, but it's
a lot
true.
of these plans we make are based on assumptions. You don't know tomorrow. You don't even know if the one child
We do know tomorrow. That's why we have economists.
You are presuming you have a job.
We do know tomorrow.
No, someone
That's
has a
why
job.
we have
and has a
guys.
plan. We do know. You can't play God.
Okay.
You can't play God.
Abdul Ghaffar Oreagba says,
You tried.
now, this is what standing up and being counted is. In spite of the abuses, directly and indirectly, Ellen Paul's a heroine. Loretta Chiogo says, Helen is a strong woman and her mother the strongest of all. Thank you, Jesus, for this testimony. She once told me, sis, you don't want to know my background. And I replied, we all have stories to tell. She told me she would challenge herself and ensure that she has a great testimony. That was in 2008. The success story is still getting some sympathy. Santure Ole says, hard-hitting truth. The story of the bread seller broke my heart. I always knew that her marriage would break up under the weight of expectations. Sadly, this story awaits a similar fate when all of the bright lights have disappeared. On License to Kill, Fabian Mekon says, with the best of intentions, the instinct of hospitals is to cover their backside first when things go wrong. Admitting negligence is not an option. You can join the conversation by going to our Facebook page, Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG, don't forget the NG, or on Twitter and Instagram, Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG. Time to go on a quick break now. And when we return, Uche will be giving us a much needed lesson in social media etiquette and we'll be laughing still.